Are you frugal? Do you want to be more frugal? Or are you just a plain old cheapskate? Today what we're going to talk about is frugal versus cheap. This is Senior Insights. My name is Cynthia, and we're going to get right started. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the characteristics of a cheap or a cheapskate, but I'm going to go over a few because it's kind of funny, and maybe we can relate to those. I think that I'm a little bit of both, mostly frugal. Anyway, a cheapskate absolutely does not want to spend any money on anything. They're penny pinchers. They won't go someplace because it costs money. They won't go to a museum because the admission is too high. They tend to buy the cheapest thing instead of the most quality thing, where someone who's frugal buys the quality thing versus the cheaper thing. They're the person who, when you go out to lunch with, they want this check split down to the exact penny of what they owe. None of this, just split the check in half or split it equally 4 ways or whatever. No, it's down to the penny what they spent. And they tend to buy the cheapest thing on the meal. They also are hesitant they don't like the tipping idea and tend to give kind of low tips. So that's what a cheap person, some of the characteristics of a cheap person are. They try to get things for free. I can remember when I was in the corporate world and we used to have trade shows, and the trade shows, these people would come with their bags and they would just shovel the prizes that we had, the giveaways. We would have pens or pads or rulers or little gadgets. Sometimes we'd even have little tiny stuffed animals, but they'd take like 5 of them instead of just one. So that's kind of a cheap hoarder kind of mentality. Okay, so personally, I think I'm mostly frugal. We're going to talk about what a frugal person actually is. A frugal person is someone who is aware of what their intake is and what they're spending their money on. They know. They have a good handle on it. They tend to conserve things. They conserve their utilities. They spend wisely. That doesn't mean that they don't spend. They spend wisely. When they need to purchase something, they study it, they investigate it, they compare it, they look at consumers' reports or reviews, and then they purchase the one that meets their needs. They tend to purchase things that will add value to their lives, enhance their lives or their homes, and that they get pleasure from. And that's basically what a frugal person is. They make good financial decisions and they track their spending. So, as I said before, personally, I'm a little bit of both, but I think I'm mostly frugal. I have been more aware of frugal practices, even though I think I've been doing them for quite some time, but not. What happened is I did an inventory or an audit of my finances the end of December to see how much money I had coming in, how much money I had going out. And it was quite an eye-opener for me. I was shocked at how much money I was indiscriminately spending at Amazon. I think it was like $1,400, but I couldn't tell you anything that I bought except one mattress overlay. I remember I bought that. I don't remember anything else on that. The other thing that I spend money on is my car lease. That was a bad decision that I made, but there's nothing I can do about it. So there you go. I have to suck it up for 2 years, and then I will have to do something about it, make a decision about what I'm going to do. So what I'm finding, because I identified my income and my expenses, I actually committed myself to doing a no-spend January. So I had a whole month where I didn't spend one red penny. Honest to God, I didn't. I did buy groceries, but I had a gift card for that. So I spent $100 on groceries, and I did not spend one other thing. So as a result, I put little bits we're talking, of money in my savings. And I was pretty happy with that. So it just became apparent to me that I needed to do something different with my spending. And so I did. So I've chosen to be actively in the moment frugal with every decision, every financial decision I make. So, but I'm going to tell you some of the, a rich person can be frugal, a poor person can be frugal. They're just on different levels and maybe different things that you're frugal about. But it doesn't mean that someone who has everything is not frugal, or someone who has nothing is not frugal. So I'm going to give you 10 things that I think that I've done that are actually frugal. And some of them are going to seem like they weren't. The first thing I'm going to talk about is, for those of you who watched my video about financial decisions and what triggered me to actually pay closer attention to my finances, was I purchased a dishwasher. My dishwasher went on the fritz, and just like I always did, I went and I purchased a new dishwasher. Well, I could have purchased a $4,000 dishwasher, or I could have purchased a $400 dishwasher. I chose to purchase the $1,000 dishwasher. I went home and I immediately had buyer's remorse. I said, "What are you doing? Why do you need to have a $1,000 dishwasher? I could have bought the $400 one, or I could have waited and done the dishes myself and saved enough money to buy the $400 one. But no, I bought the $1,000 one." Well, I've since done a lot of thinking about that silly dishwasher, and the conclusion that I've come to is that actually was a frugal purchase of an appliance. The reason I say that is because all of the appliances in my home are moderate appliances. In other words, they're not the high end and they're not the low end. They're just kind of in the middle. That's what this $1,000 dishwasher was. It's in the middle. That would maintain, if I bought a cheaper one, it would actually decrease the value of my home a little bit. And since someday I may have to sell my home, I hope I don't, because I'm getting this frugal thing under my belt. I'm going to figure this out. But if I have to, then that would affect the resale. And the other nice thing about this dishwasher, it has no noise, which background noise drives me crazy. I cannot even hear one speckle of trickling water or anything. So for me, that was a value for my home, for myself. And you know what? It cleans the dishes better than the old one, which was a Bosch. So my dishwasher was a frugal purchase. Then I purchased, as I was getting older, I purchased a generator a few years ago. And when I purchased that generator, I purchased it because we were having a lot of power outages, and I live in the woods, over the river and through the woods. To Grandma's house we go. Well, that's where I live. Tons of power outages. One for a long period of time. It was not as long as some of you have gone through with all those hurricanes and floods and all that stuff. I'm not talking that. Don't ever get the impression from me that I'm whining about my life, because I'm not, and that I don't respect what you're going through. But anyway, now I got off on that tangent. I can't remember what I was going to say. Let me figure. One of the other frugal purchases that I did was I purchased a freezer, a small 3 cubic foot freezer. And probably right away you're saying, what does a single elderly woman need a freezer for? Well, because I'm frugal. I'm frugal because when I make my meals, I make several portions and I freeze them and I put them in my freezer. And I won't go without food for a while. I'm prepared to not be able to get out of the house. I'm prepared for whatever happens next. And I do have food. Now, I haven't done extravagant purchases of food. And my food is not going to melt because I have a generator. So that's kind of the reasoning behind the freezer, and I absolutely love it. So it gives me peace of mind. I have a place to shop when I need some meat, or I want. Yesterday I had a hamburger roll that I needed, so I got it out of the freezer. So that's why I like my freezer, and I have no regrets. And I believe that it was a frugal purchase for me because it helps me in the long run save money. The other thing that's helped me become more frugal is actually figuring out what my income was and what my output was. And from that, I decided to do the no spend month, which was very successful for me. I was very happy with it. And that no spend month was painless. I don't understand how it could be painless, but it was. And so far this February, I haven't spent any money. I have spent grocery money, but not up to my budget. My budget is $148 a month, I think. So I'm pleased with that. Home cooking, if you can cook your meals at home, it's much better than buying prepared meals. It's much more cost effective. You can cook in bulk. I hate cooking. Do you hate cooking? Some people love to cook. My friend today, it's snowing out, and she called me. We were talking, and I said, "What are you doing today?" And she said, "I'm baking whoopie pies, and I made muffins this morning." She said, "I love to bake when it's snowing out." And I said, "This woman is not playing with a full deck." But she likes to do that. So I cooked a pork roast the other day that I did do a video, but I haven't posted it because I wasn't too impressed with the way it came out. But what I did do, I had one meal from it after I cooked it, and then I shredded the pork, and I made myself a shredded pork sandwich with barbecue sauce. It was so good. Much better than that crockpot recipe that I actually made the pork in. But the pork was tender, it was flavorful, the barbecue sauce was good. I got 4 more meals out of that I put in my freezer. So, telling you. This is a big one. Trust me. Maintain your car at all costs, no matter what it costs. Let me tell you a story about my car. I used to have a very nice car, and it was all paid for, but I didn't have the oil changed. And guess what? I blew the engine. It was a fairly late model car. I only had something like 40,000 miles on it, or maybe 50. It was fine. It didn't have any mechanical issues or anything. But I blew the engine on it. So what did I do? I impulsively went and leased a car. So you'll have to watch my video on should you rent or lease a car. So now I had to put down $6,000 on the leased car. Then my payments at that time were $250 a month for 3 years. Well, then those 3 years went by, and I had to turn my car in. So it wasn't my car anymore. It was never my car, but I thought it was my car. I had to turn it in, and I leased another one. So then I had to put down another $6,000, and the payments went up to $359 a month. And that's all because I didn't do an oil change. So I cannot, I know you're probably saying, "Oh, will you please just stop talking?" I can't, I want you to learn from my lesson. Do not go without changing your oil, ever, 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 or you will be in the mess that I am. I can't get out of my lease without paying a high fee, and I don't want to lease the next time. So what am I going to do? That's an issue that I have to worry about. I don't want you to have to worry about that. Okay, what else? Don't waste your water, your electricity. I have someone who comes over this house occasionally. She hasn't been over in a long time, but she'll wash the dishes. And when she's washing the dishes, I'm sitting in my chair saying, "Oh, I'm so glad she's washing the dishes, but I really wish she would shut off the water because it's going like continuously." And I am very frugal with my water because I have a septic system that is probably over 50 years old, and it's not a modern septic system. And do you know how much a new septic system costs? Well, I don't want to find out because I know it's almost $50,000 that I do not have. So I'm very careful with my water usage. I'm very careful what I put down the drains, and on and on. I've never had a problem with the septic systems, not once. I wash one load of clothes. I use my dishwasher. I shower. It has not been a problem, but if you run the water over and over and over again for hours, it's potentially a problem. So don't waste your electricity. And people will say, hang your clothes inside. Well, you know what? I have one of those racks. It doesn't hold a whole load, and it takes for hours, days to dry. But I'm going to try it again today because I'm telling you how to save on electricity, and dryers use a lot of electricity, and mine is an old one. So newer appliances also save energy. And the other thing that I try and do is I try to consolidate my trips. When I go on a trip into town, it's a long way. I bring my cans and bottles for redemption. I bring my things that I want to drop off at the Goodwill store. I pick up my prescriptions. I do my grocery shopping, and I go to my doctor's appointment. So in other words, if I have a doctor's appointment, I plan all those things around it so that I only have one trip and I conserve gas. Okay, that's the end of my lecture for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you listened to it. The moral of the story is know what your income is and know what you're spending your money on. That's basically what it is. Consider a no-spend month. I'm telling you, it was really easy. And in the future, we'll talk about other ways to save money, conserve money. And I'll see you in the next video. I would ask you to please like and subscribe and leave some hints as to how you consider yourself frugal. And we'll talk about them in one of the next videos. So thank you very much, and I appreciate each and every one of you.